Hi everyone. Hello. Mic check. Am I audible? Can anybody hear me? Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Um, Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you. I think I want to plead or crave your indulgence to give us 2 minutes to start properly, and hopefully other people can join before then. So please bear with us while we wait for another 2 minutes before we kick off properly. Kick off properly. So yeah. So thank you. So see you in another 2 minutes.
All right.
All right. So thank you. Please, I want to plead with everyone to mute our mic. Please let's mute our mic. Um, please let's mute our mic. Thank you. All right. So yeah, so it's a pleasure to be hosting this session with alongside Bukola. I think we've done this sometimes before together and maybe once or twice, but it's a pleasure to be able to lead this session with her. My name is Taiwo, and I would like to welcome everyone here today on behalf of Scenario Academy. It's one of the academies, or rather, put community contribution to the ecosystem. And the intention or the goal is to help those who are, looking forward, or enthusiasts who are looking forward to transitioning into data analytics. And the purpose is to guide them, provide the entry level framework for them and guidance on how they can go about, either transitioning into data analytics or learning data analytics for their own purpose. So once again, you're welcome, and I hope and I believe that you're going to have a good time. So just for you to understand what this session is, how the session is going to go today, I'm going to be sharing this next slide. So we're going to talk about the agenda. The first thing is that I'm going to read out the housekeeping rules to us, and then there'll be a short introduction into the community, the faculty, and the faculty. And then I would take a session where I speak to you about the industry landscape and some of the insights, some things you need to know while you're trying to jump in. And also, if you're already within within the system, or you're already a data analyst and enthusiast, and some other information that you could find useful in your journey. Then I would hand over to Bukola, who will lead the lab session. She will lead the lab session, and hopefully at the end of the session, you surely have questions and answer for her. And then, so that'll be for the Q&A, and then there'll be some, opportunities that Scenario Academy may want to share with everyone. So then we can close out with selfie. So once again, thank you and welcome. And I will just say and take it up from here. So the housekeeping rules, you try as much as possible to mute your microphone, and also do your best to stay present in the session. Of course, the recording of the session is going to be shared with you, but sometimes you may have some questions from the presentation that you may want to ask, and you will surely get an answer to during the session. So in case you do not want to interrupt the session and you have a question, you can always drop the question within the chat box. And so hopefully somebody will read it out for the facilitator, or if the facilitator is able to pick it up from there, he or she can answer. Yeah, like I said, the recording of the session is going to be provided to everyone. So yeah, so that said, I will fire on with the community. So Scenario Academy, the organizer of this session, is actually an expert-led community. I mean, I would rather refer to it as a community because it's a community-driven academy. So meaning that it's not just an academy where you come in to learn, you come in to learn, be part of the academy, be part of the community, and you can always get answers to questions within the community during, before, and after your data analytics joining. So we're an expert-led community, established in 2019. And over time, we've actually helped a lot of individuals and organizations who look forward to leverage analytics for business success, as well as to turbocharge their career, or to move from leapfrog where they currently are to where they want to be. So yeah, so it's really a community that actually help a lot of enthusiasts as well to transition from whatever they currently do. If you're tired of your job and then you want to pick up a data analytics career, or career in data analytics, Senior Academy is that community that can help you, guide you, handhold you until you become very comfortable in your journey. So we have an experienced faculty who works in several organizations, both in, local and international. And so, like I said earlier, it's an expat community, and that is one of the competitive advantage that the academy has. So, I mean, amongst all the clients that the academy has worked with, and some of them are listed here: First Bank and Green Africa, and a host of others. So that being said, I'm going to move into the competitive advantage of the community. So one of the things that basically stand the community out is the physical classes that is being offered alongside the online classes. I mean, which is based on individuals' preference. There are a lot of people who prefer physical classes to online classes, and it is one of those opportunities that the academy actually holds. And then we have the multi-domain industry expertise. So meaning that so that we have instructors who come from different domains. So from airlines, from FMCG, from banking, from retail, we have a way of marinating expertise from across different industry together to become a whole package for people that want to learn. And then gamification, we have the integrated gaming approach to learning. In terms of, sometimes it can be tiring, learning can be tiring. So the moment you try to integrate fun into it, it becomes a bit more interesting. So that's the essence of integrating gamification into the process of learning, or the approach to learning, which really made a lot of sense. The online internship is also one value add that, kind of set the community, set it, aside from other organizations. And there's also the post-training support through, WhatsApp chat and Discord community where you can always drop in questions. You're going for a job interview, you have questions to ask, or you're currently on a job and you have problems you're trying to solve, and then you need someone to, provide you have questions and you need someone who could answer it. So we have a community that has a mix of expert as well as enthusiasts where people get answers to whatever data analytics questions that they have. Also, there's also some kind of work references for anyone who goes through the internship academy. And there's also an alumni meetup that also happens every quarter, which brings together all the alumni and industry or business or thought leaders who share ideas, skills, tools, and some new trends or new thing that is happening within the ecosystem. Yeah. So that is the competitive advantage that the academy holds. Then back to data analytics properly, which is the essence of why we are here today. The idea is to help you understand what data analytics is and how you can tap into the opportunity that it presents, as well as how you can possibly also land your desired analytics job. So we'll definitely start, and for the purpose of those who do not know, I'm starting with what data analytics is in simple terms. And if you can see my screen, you see it's basically the process of getting raw data from business. So you get hired by an organization, and the job is basically to, so as a data analyst, your job is basically to, source for wherever their data is kept, and understand the data, clean up the data, transform the data, make it analysis ready. And once you're able to do that, all you need to do is to look deep into the data, ensure you have the necessary skills to be able to look deep into the data to spot trends. When I say spot trends, I'm talking about, so when you're analyzing the data and you see that it happens that usually their revenue is always, high from January, and then when it gets to the Ember period, which is the October, the Q4 period, it goes low, and you notice the same pattern, across many years. Maybe 2020 is the same thing, 2021, 2022, you notice the same pattern. So those are trends that you, spot or you find and you identify within the business based on what their data is saying. And then you communicate those trends or those insights to the business, and there's a way the business can use it to make valuable decisions. So it could be because of the fact that you have noticed a revenue shortfall during the Q4 period. The business can then decide to come up with initiative to to adjust, ensure that okay, the next year we are going to reduce the size of drop that we experienced during the December period. So that's what data analytics is all about: picking the data, cleaning up the data, ensuring that it's analytics ready, transforming data, and deriving insight or trends, spotting trends from the data, from the outcome of the data, and then communicating that to the business stakeholders to help them make proper business decisions. So that is what data analytics is all about in simple terms. And so that being said, we are now, we now want to look into the views about data analytics, because the question is, and why data analytics? Why the whole? This is just for the purpose of those who do not really know, who are probably just hearing about data analytics for the, I wouldn't say for the first time, but say, you're just basically new into it and you want to understand what it's all about. The idea is that there's been a lot of conversation around data analytics in terms of the explosion, what is happening, why is everybody talking about data analytics, right? So, and according to Statista is one of the research companies that we have, and they really, crunch a lot on data and provide a lot of insight across several, domains, several industries and the likes. So if you look at this chart, you see Statista mentioned that in the last 10 years, we have witnessed an explosion in data production. All right. So meaning that, and over 90% of all the data in existence now has just been created in the last 10 years. So there's been a significant a huge leap in data that is generated. So we saw the size of data created, the data captured, as well as the data that are consumed globally increase rapidly, and rapidly up to about 64 zettabytes as of 2022, right? So I mean, and they even mentioned that 64 zettabyte that was projected is actually higher than what was initially projected. So they had a projection, and what actually happened was quite a lot bigger and higher than what they had projected. So it was a huge leap in data that was generated. And one of the key drivers of this growth was the COVID-19 pandemic that happened, right? Due to that pandemic, more people started working from home, more people started learning from home, and a lot more. So, and they even went ahead to say that over the next 2 years, up until 2025, if you can see the chart over the chart on the right, up until 2025, they are saying that the global data creation is projected to grow, to more than 180 zettabytes, and what that means is that this is going to create a huge data analysis gap, in the world, and in turn, a lot of data-related job opportunities are going to be looking for professionals to fill them, right? So, and then what does this mean? What it simply means is that, the best time for you to jump on opportunities, I mean, on the opportunities that data analytics hold is actually is actually 10 years ago, and the next best time is actually today. So it's not really a fake fuse that is being created about data analytics. Data analytics holds a lot of opportunities that probably waiting for talent to harness them or to jump on them. So that is, the fuse about data analytics. Now, the next thing here is role and tools to learn in data analytics, right? So this is also very, very important, to role and tools to learn in data analytics. I set up this so that I can properly explain to you in terms of the roles and tools, like what exactly happens in data analysis environment, or say in a proper data technology team, what actually happens. So every organization has data, and they could have their data seated in different places, right? Or the same place. But most of the time in a proper organization, you have their data seated in many places. So take, for example, your HR system. It can be different from your ERP system. Like ERP is your enterprise resource planning, which is the system organization used to manage their operations end to end, right? So which also could include your finance system, or your finance function. So a call center can have their system in a different software, right? Transportation, maybe you have a tracker for transportation for logistic companies. They can also have their, that system in a different platform. There's also data in Google Analytics, say for an e-commerce company who runs, sales online. So the goal of every organization or a fairly serious organization, is to harmonize this data, right? That is, pick them from these disparate sources and aggregate them into a single place, right, for analysis, right? So instead of having to be plugging into different data sources, they want to be able to harmonize it and integrate it together into a single place, right? So that the data analyst can then connect to it and build its report or analysis or dashboard or whatever it is from there. So if you look at the layers, there we have the data source layer, and then we have the semantic layer, which is where the whole aggregation happens from, let's say, the data sits in three different softwares here. the different locations or 4 different locations there. The data are aggregated into a single, a single source of truth here, right? And then once it's aggregated into, so some of the things that happens there is extraction. Data has been extracted from the sources, transformed, more of cleaning up of the data. A lot of engineering, happens to the data. And then deployment of the data of orchestration. So meaning setting it up to run every day and building services that, enables it to run every day and to load data from source into the data warehouse. And then it is from this single source of truth that it's easier for a data analyst to connect to the single source of truth and do his own analysis right from there. Now, so in terms of the roles of those people who does that, you can see the data engineers, the ETL developer or BI developer, basically responsible for whatever happens there between in sourcing the data and integrating it into the data warehouse. So the role of data engineer or ETL developer or BI developer, right? ETL simply stands for extraction, transformation, and loading of data, or for short, you can say extract, transform, and load. And then the data analyst now comes in to build their report dashboard and the likes on the data that has been integrated into the data warehouse by the data engineer or the ETL developer. So the consumer of the data here, the data analyst, BI developer, data scientist, and sometimes even the normal business user also uses the data, right? Depending on the data usage policy of the organization. So that being said, some of the tools and the skills that you need to acquire for you to play within this environment is that if you want to become a data engineer, an ETL developer, or a BI developer, all of these tools are very much required, right? So like SQL, you need to be very good with SQL. And then also there are integration services, excuse me, integration systems that you also would want to learn, like SQL Server integration service. It's used for integrating data from sources into destination. And similar to that is also the Azure Data Factory, which is Microsoft's own product. Of course, there are a lot of products, and these are just the major ones that are probably maybe I have bias for, and which is one of the reasons why I've listed them here. I probably will also show you some more in the next slide. And then also Python. Now, the essence of Azure Data Factory is just the cloud version of, Microsoft SQL Server integration service for, moving data or ingesting data, as well as transforming data and loading, the data into the destination. The data warehouse, the destination mentioned, is more like just another database, right? So then also Python is also a very good ETL tool. And there are a lot of many other out-of-the-box tools, but these are the ones I have bias for, and which is why I have mentioned or listed them here. But there are a lot of many more tools. Now, for the data analysts who also are data scientists who are consumers of the data that goes into the data warehouse, some of the tools you need to be able to build your visualizations, your dashboard, and the likes. Tools like Power BI, Tableau, Click, Excel, and a data analyst also needs to have a very strong knowledge of SQL, Python, as well as R language, data analyst and data scientist. So that being said, some other soft skills you also need to be able to have is the problem solving skills, communication skills. Surely, most of the time, especially when you get to the senior level, you will take, leadership roles, and then you'll be handling stakeholders. Stakeholder management is one key skills you need to have, and good communication skill is one of the things that would really help you to catapult your journey. Critical thinking, project management, everything is all about task. You are given a task, and There are a lot of there are plans and that are task driven, project implementation. So so you need to have at least project management, idea, or some of the project management tools that are available, like Jira and the likes. Yeah, teamwork, ability to work within a team and collaborate. Those are some critical soft skills that you also need to have. Without wasting much of your time, um, some of the other tools that I have, listed here in terms of data engineering and analytics, you need strong knowledge of SQL and SQL Server as well as Python. For on-prem environment. So on-prem simply means when the infrastructure or the implementation is built within some server locations within the organization. And then some of these tools are what is required to be able to build such. However, if the organization if it's cloud driven, then you have to have an idea of one or two of these, tools, right? These are cloud tools for data engineering. And data engineering basically. So you have the Azure Data Factory, which is on a Microsoft product, the Google BigQuery and dbt, Snowflakes and the like. So there are a lot of many more tools like that, but these are the ones that continue or begin to that you get to hear more of them, right? So, and then there are also Azure AWS tools as well that you also may want to consider having a knowledge in for data engineering. And then when it comes to proper visualization and analysis, you have these tools like Looker, which is Google own visualization tool, Click, Tableau. I've mentioned some of these earlier, and then databases as well. It really makes sense to have knowledge of some of these tools, database. At least two of them will really help you, even though they run on the same framework, which is SQL, but they're like different dialects of SQLs when you're writing them. So, but of course, the knowledge are very, very much transferable, right? So, one quick thing you also need to look at here is the, Microsoft, just to show you that Microsoft, which is one of the reasons why I have my bias towards Microsoft tools, right? Microsoft seems to continue to be the leader for many years now, maybe up to 15 years, in terms of the analytics and business intelligence platform. So you can see them at the top here on the leaderboard. And then Tableau, which is owned by Salesforce, keeps pushing. They have the Click, and then there are some challengers like Google, Looker, MicroStrategy, and the likes, Domo. And then you have the visionaries as well as as the niche player. So this is a Gartner chart, and you can see as of January 2023, something that you may want to look up. And next is the types of data analysis. So this is very important, right? It's all about we do data analysis, but it's important to know the different type of data analysis that we want to do. So if I come to you as a client and ask you that I want to do, I can tell you that the type of analysis I need is a diagnostic analysis without even going into details of what I want. So having a knowledge of this will give you an idea of what I want, right? So, that's why it's important for you to have an understanding of the different type of data analysis that we have. So you have the descriptive analysis, the diagnostics, the diagnostic, the predictive, as well as the prescriptive. Of course, there's one other one that is cognitive analysis, but I decided to just not include that, so as not to confuse you. But it's not widely considered in the scheme of things, but it's really one of the things that is being looked into in the future with respect to data analysis. So for the descriptive analysis, you can see what it does is basically it looks at what has happened in the past. And an example of this is Google Analytics, right? Google Analytics is a good example of descriptive analytics. So what it does is that, it provides, like Google Analytics provides you a simple overview of what is going on your website, right? For those who don't know what Google Analytics is, Google Analytics is what you integrate on your website to monitor and track your customers in terms of where they are coming from, who they are, in terms of their demographics and the likes. So, it gives you that simple overview of what's happening on your website, right? Showing you how many people visited, your website in a given time period, and maybe also helps you to know where your visitors are coming from, right? So that is, descriptive analytics. It has happened and then we need to, understand them, right? We need to know them, we need to see them. Now, diagnostic analysis, practically helps you to understand why something happened, right? It helps you to understand why something happened. So let's say, descriptive analysis shows you that there was a 20% drop in sales in the month of August, right? You will want to find out why, right? So more like, doing an RCA in terms of root cause analysis of why it happened, right? So why might be, because your biggest customer who contribute like 15% of your sales had issues in the month of August. Or maybe say one of your branches couldn't open due to a fire incident, right? So that's what diagnostic analytics does, right? It helps you to understand the root cause analysis of an event that has happened, right? So predictive analytics basically, it predict what is likely going to happen in the future. That's what it's all about. An insurance company wants to know if there is likely going to be a natural disaster or say fire incident within a particular area before they consider accepting, home insurance risk, right, within that area, right? So, or maybe let's say like a kind of non-collateral loan companies are looking forward to, they want to know if a customer who is asking for loan is likely going to default on that loan, right? So that is predictive analysis, doing analysis that helps the big business to know what is likely going to happen in the future, right? And then we have the prescriptive analytics that look at what has happened, why it happened, and so and maybe what we need to do, right, in order for it not to happen again, right? So that is what prescriptive analytics deals with, right? It helps you define your future action in terms of what to do next, right? After understanding, knowing that certain things has happened, right? So, and probably feed on your current data, what has happened, and then use it to help you advise on what needs to happen, what you need to do so that it's not going to happen again, right? So that is prescriptive analytics. So those are the example, and then you can see the value, the the more complex the type of analysis you do, the more valuable it is to the organization. So that is prescriptive analysis or types of analysis as a whole. So think I'm running out of time. So I'll quickly walk through some of the type of analysis that we do in organization, like more like detail example, right? On like the general overview of the type of analysis that we do. So in terms of details example of what organization want from data analyst, say especially when you're a newbie, so some of the things that you need to do or the organization wants you to do is to help them understand their business with data, right? So what is our total sales this year based on your analysis, right, as a data analyst? And if we compare it with what our total sales last year, what is the percentage of growth it gives us? Do we have a growth or do we have a decline, right? And then you have that same thing also done on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis, right? And this can either be our aggregate revenue or revenue by customers, right? Or revenue by or that time in terms of product type. So, so you can see, they want to understand that for each of their product group or their product. They want to understand that by their locations or their branches. They want to know how they are performing. They want to understand that by their regions in terms of, regional coverage. How much are we selling to this region? And, is there growth in this region or not? And then they want to understand the performance of their salespeople, year on year. and as well as the channels that they've been using to do their distribution. They want to also understand that as well. If it pays them to continue to use an outsourced distribution company or their internal distribution company. And then also customer analytics is also could be a bit more advanced, but they also need to understand their customer, like kind of 360 degree, have a 360 degree understanding of their customers, right? Which is very important and critical, and it helps them to properly define some marketing campaigns to them, target 10 marketing campaigns to the different type of or different demography of the customers that they have. Just a further look into the customer analytics techniques that we have, which is an offshoot of the customer analytics. One of the first thing, one thing that is very common in terms of analysis that businesses carry out is sensitivity analysis. So if I change price, what happens? Does my sales continues to grow? If it's been growing, if I change price, does my sales continues to grow or it drops? Or if I change, if my sales increase, does it also simply means an increase in profit? So sensitivity analysis is more like understanding an impact of change in one indicator, one variable of your business over the other. So that is what sensitivity analysis speak to. And then you also have things like RFN analysis that help the business to understand their customer and segment them, based on on how frequent and how recent they make a purchase, as well as the money that they have given you in terms of their monetary contribution to your business. So you also have the market segmentation, which is also very critical. The business wants to know where their customers are coming from. And when I say where they are coming from, I'm not talking about the geographical locations, but I'm talking about who are the people that are recommending customers to them. So they classify those into market segment. And so an example, as you can see on my screen here, is a laboratory, a healthcare company who is into diagnostics, and they have their customers come from doctors who refer business to them, clinics, smaller clinic and hospital who outsource their testing to them, from pathology laboratories, corporate companies, and many more. And then they want to know the contribution of each of those market segments to their business, and also especially the value they get from them, right? So meaning that does it pay them to get more customer to doctors refer channel than my segment than the corporate segment or the HMO segment, right? So that's something they need to understand and pay a lot of attention to the high marginal potential channels. So you have the cohort analysis that also speak to customer behavior in terms of how their customers, the behavior of their customer after their first purchase. So are customers coming back after their first purchase? So somebody makes their first purchase at Jumia the first day. So when is the next time the person came back to purchase, right? You understand, when did he come back to purchase? Is it next month, second month, or third month, or fourth month? So there's a need for people, organizations to understand, and it helps them to understand how good they are doing with customer retention. So, and then there are a lot of initiatives that can use to cover any gap that is identified from the outcome of a cohort analysis. One other technique is basket analysis. Usually, basket analysis is all about helping the business to know that these are products that people usually buy together, right? And then one opportunity they can get or initiative they can derive from that is having to cross-sell those products, like sell them together maybe at a discount. And that's when you see people buy a product that they don't even need at the time, but because there's a promotion going on it, so they get to buy it. So one other one is the price volume mix. So if a business, year to year, there's always business growth. So the growth can be an upward growth or a decline. So when there's an upward growth, there are two things that could have led to that growth. It's either price or volume, right? So business need to know what is driving their growth, more like what you call growth drivers. Is it price, is it volume, or a mix of both? Right. I know a company that if you look at their revenue indicator is high and all of it is upward. But if you look at the number of customers, number of product sales is completely red, right? And the reason why they got that increase in revenue is because they changed price significantly. So meaning that the growth that they have recorded is likely driven by price. So that's another type of analysis that, and these are some kind of, high level analysis or advanced analysis. And then one last one here is the Pareto, and where almost every CEO will want you to do whatever analysis you want to do for them in a Pareto-like manner. So as considering only the 80% of the people who are driving, or 20% of the people or 20% of the product that is driving 80% of the sales. So Pareto simply, help tells the business what are the most important things within the business, who are the most important customers, what are the most important products, right? So what it simply means is that you can have a situation whereby let's say a company has 10 products, right? Two out of those 10 products are contributing or bringing in 80% of the total revenue of the business, right? So it means that they need to pay a lot of attention on those two products. So those are some of the things that Pareto analysis uncovers. The vital few as well as the what? As the useful many, right? So that is what Pareto speak to. And then you also have, maybe financial analysis, which has become financial reporting, which has become a data analyst responsibility, right? A BI developer responsibility now. Initially, it used to be consulting companies, although even up until today, some organizations still, some consultants still run their financial statement or their internal finance team, right? Still build financial statement for the monthly financial statement for the company. But now there's a way, rather than having to be crunching on numbers, Excel and everything, these are some of the things that are now automated with Power BI, and you can design in Power BI your cash flow, your balance sheet, and the likes. So that brings us to the end of my session. So without wasting too much of your time, I would, hand you over to my colleague on this session today. Her name is Olubukola Akinshola. She's a data analyst as well as a data engineer, and she has had experience across different domains like healthcare, finance, banking, and retail. Currently is a senior data analyst at Access Bank PLC, and she's a very good friend of the community, and she's one of the instructors within the community. And I mean, I'll just let you take a look at the other, the previous, the previous previous engagement, right, with other companies on my screen. She's a certified Microsoft data Azure, Microsoft certified Azure data fundamentals. She's also a certified data analyst as well as a certified Microsoft certified trainer. So I'm not sure there's anyone better to really hand you over to than Olubukola to go forward with the session. So Bukola, can you hear me? Hi Bukola. Okay, hold on, I think I need to, just give me a second. I think I need to make you a co-host. Right, sorry about that. Make co-host and then ask you to unmute. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, hi, I can hear you. Hi, Taiwo.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right. All right, thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. Hi. As Taiwo has mentioned, I'm Olubukunwola Akinshola, currently a senior data analyst at Access Bank PLC. Today, I will just be taking us through harnessing the power of analytics with Power BI. Power BI is one of the analytics tools that you can use for your data analysis and visualization. And yes, you can also use Power BI for predictive analysis. So I'll just be sharing my screen now. Please, if you have any question, you can just drop it in the chat and I will be happy to answer your question. Okay, please let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, as I mentioned, I'll be telling us how to harness the power of analytics with Power BI. We'll just be talking about just very brief content here before we go into the demo. First, I'll be introducing you to BI with Power BI and also data. We'll talk about the importance of data in business, some of which Taiwo has covered. Challenges faced with data, business intelligence, and business intelligence with Power BI. And then we'll also be doing a brief demo with Power BI. Right. So today, all businesses are data business. Just like somebody that is selling water in traffic, right? His business is a data business, or her business is a data business. They are not probably taking record of the data, but deep in their head, they're keeping record of the data of their sales. So, for example, they know that in the morning, maybe somebody that is doing business on Third Milan Bridge, for example, he knows that in the morning between the hour 6 to 8, there's traffic on Third Milan Bridge and he has to stock up on water during that period. And he also knows that maybe in the evening there's not so much business, right? And then he doesn't stay on Third Milan Bridge. Maybe in the evening there's more of traffic Lekki Koiling Bridge, right? So he goes to Lekki Koiling Bridge instead of Third Milan Bridge in the evening. And that's that person subconsciously taking data, right? And data is very important. If somebody, like somebody that sells water, can take record of their data subconsciously, how much more a business that has large data, right? So data is crucial in businesses, and storing and securing data in business is very mandatory, right? And some of the importance of data in business is that it helps business make better decisions. As a business, you're able to make better decisions with data. You can just assume that. I remember one day when I was going to work, right? Normally, there would normally be traffic. I'll stay on Third Milan Beach for 30 to 1, and that particular day, there was no traffic at all, right? So if somebody that is selling water now comes out that day, no traffic, that means he would not make sales that day. But if he now notices that, okay, there's a pattern that maybe on Wednesday or Thursday there's not much as traffic as there used to be on Monday and Tuesday, he knows not to stock up on a lot of water on Wednesday and Thursday, right? And so with data, a businesses that stores and utilizes their data can make better business decisions. They can solve business problems. They can map and improve their performance. Maybe a product is not performing well, they can improve the performance of that product by analyzing the product data. They can also improve processes, and at the end of the day, all of these improvements ends up leading to an improved customer experience. Some challenges face some issues with data, because what I know is that as much as challenges are businesses are collecting data, a lot of businesses are not utilizing their data, and even when they are utilizing their data, they are facing challenges utilizing this data that they are collecting. One of the challenge they have is that they have multiple data system. Maybe their data is on Excel, some data is on a database, while some data is even on somebody's local computer, and you cannot have access to that data unless the person shares the data with you, right? And there's also difficulty accessing the data, right? You need data from finance. Before you get the data from finance, you have to reach out to like 2 or 3 people before you get that data. And what happens? There's also delay in report generation, right? And there's also issue of inconsistency in data. Maybe somebody in sales has a different numbers from somebody in finance, right? That means there's inconsistency, and maybe the person in sales does not want that number. What do you do in that scenario? And the data is also prone to human error when it's not stored properly or is not stored in the right system. Then there's also a challenge with data duplication when data is duplicated across multiple systems. So these are some of the challenges that organizations face with data. And this is where business intelligence come in, because it bridges the gap between data and decision making, because the whole idea of storing, utilizing your data is to make better business decision, and BI is what bridges the gap between data and business decision making, right? It's very crucial for businesses to improve all of your business sections, from operations to strategy to customer experience. And Power BI, as Taiwo mentioned, is one of the very popular business intelligence tool. And with a tool like Power BI, you can automate your monthly reports, you can monitor progress, you can understand trends over time. You want to know what season you are making sales, what season you're not making sales. With Power BI, you can do all of that, and you can compare performances between periods, different time periods. You want to compare month-on-month sales, month-on-month growth, compare last year's sales to this year's sales. BI tools like Power BI can help you automate those processes. So what is Power BI? Power BI is a Microsoft visualization tool. It's not just used for visualization, but the core of it is visualization. But with Microsoft Power BI, you can also perform all of your analytics, right? You can bring your data into Power BI from whatever system it is. You can analyze that data, you can clean the data, you can also visualize the data in Power BI. And Power BI consists of multiple versions, but the most popular versions are the desktop version, the online service, and then the mobile version. For the desktop version, you will download that on your laptop device or on your desktop computer, and that version is absolutely free. You do not need any license to use that version. You don't need to be logged in to use that version. You don't need any account to use that version, right? But when you want to use the online version, you will need to create a license. Power BI has multiple licenses. They have the free license, they have the pro, and they have the premium license. The free license is free, but it has its limitation. What it means is that when you have either of the three licenses, but particularly premium and pro license, you can share your report with other people within and outside of your organization so that they can view and interact with your report. And Power BI can allow you to connect to over 200 data sources. And what this means is that wherever your data is, if your data is in Excel, but you want to create a report out of that data in Excel, you can connect your Power BI report to your Excel file. If your data is on a database, for example, you can also connect your Power BI to that database and build visuals on Power BI, right? And these visuals that you build are interactive visuals. They have the ability to interact with each other. So I just wanted to say that for visuals, what we call visuals in Power BI are like your charts, your bar charts, they're all called visuals in Power BI. So in Power BI, there's a reporting process of how your reporting should go, right? You have your import your data. Before you can do anything in Power BI, you have to bring in the data into the Power BI environment, and that process is done by importing your data using a feature called Get Data in Power BI. So what happens is that you connect your data to your Power BI to these third-party systems. Maybe, for example, Excel. When you connect your Power BI to Excel, you are able to bring the data from Excel into Power BI. And the next thing you want to do is clean your data. What does data cleaning mean? It means that, in simple terms, it means that you're putting your data in the right format for analysis. The reason is because there are times when data is not a format that would give us the results that we want, right? And for us to get accurate results, we need to make sure that our data is clean. So there's some transformation that you have to do to your data that leads to the cleaning process of your data. And so when you're done with this transformation, then you can now start building your report. But before you do that, in some cases, you would have to model your data. So what is modeling? Modeling means creating relationships. So what happens is that there are some cases where you probably have different data coming in from different sources. Maybe you have a customer data coming in from Excel, then you have your sales data coming in from your database, but you want to see how much sales each customers have brought into your business, right? Remember that these two data sets, or in Power BI, they are going to be in two different tables regardless of where they are coming from. But these two different tables um speak, yes, you can get to the slides, Victoria. These two different tables kind of speak to two different things, but you want to create a report from these two different tables. And for you to be able to create that report, you need to create a relationship between the two tables, right? So that's what modeling does for you. But there are times when your report is just coming in from one table. In the case where it is coming in from one table, you don't need to model your data. And after you have modeled your data, you can now start your visualization, right? Visualization and analysis, that's visualize and analyze. I would say that they go hand in hand, right? The reason why I would say that is because there are times when you want to see what is going on in your data before you start to analyze your data. So you want to see, am I making sales more in January than I am making in February? So when you now say, okay, yes, I'm making sales more in January, what is leading to a high rise in sales in January? Then you can now start analyzing your data to figure out why you have a high sales in January. So when you finish analyzing, you can now re-visualize your data. So I'll say visualization and analysis, they go hand in hand. When you are done visualizing and analyzing your data, the next thing you want to do is to share your report. You don't want your report to just sit down on your computer. You want the business stakeholders, the business users to be able to use and get the insights that you are displaying in this report. And so you need to publish and share the report. As I mentioned earlier, for you to publish your report, you need to have a license, a premium or a pro license, right? A free license would not allow you to share your report with people, but a premium and pro license will allow you to do that. Okay, so let's go into a demo where I'll just show you the Power BI environment and how to create a very simple report with Power BI. Okay, before we do that, I just want to show us an example of a report that was created with Power BI. This report is a report, and Tell mentioned something about customer lifetime value is one of the metrics that is measured in customer analytics, right? And this is a report that was created to calculate or display the customer's lifetime value of this business. So this is an example of a Power BI report that can be created, right? And here, what I have here is something called a slicer. And a slicer helps you to filter your report. Remember that I mentioned that Power BI reports are very interactive. So if, for example, I want to see 2014 data, I can just come here and click on 2014. And what happens is that my data will change to show me only 2014. Power BI, I'm just sharing screen. Hello, everyone. Really apologize for the issue we just had now. Can you please confirm that you can hear me? Please just let me know. Okay, thank you for confirming, Precious. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. So as I was saying before the network cut us off, I'm so sorry about what happened. We just had a brief technical issue. So this is an example of a Power BI report that was created, and I was trying to show us how Power BI reports can interact with each other. And I was showing us this slicer, which we can use to filter our reports. So if I click on 2015, the data here would change to show me 2015 data. As you can see, a lot of things have changed in this report, and it doesn't just interact by a slicer. I can come here, for example, and say that, let me just check all of this here. I have selected February here. So if, for example, you can see that this has January, February up until December. Please, if you have a question, just drop it in the chat. Thank you. So if, for example, I want to see only October's data, what I can do is I can come here and click on October, and all of my data would change to show me only October. And so that is how Power BI can interact with each other. That's how your data can interact with each other in Power BI. Right, so we'll just be doing just a very simple Power BI report to show you how the Power BI system works when you want to create your report. So I'll just be showing you something. Okay, please give me a second. If you look at this other report, which I'll be showing us now, this is a much simpler report than the one that I just showed us. As you can see, it has lesser visual elements than the other one. As I mentioned, every chart you are putting in your Power BI report is called a visual. Every chart that you're putting in your Power BI report is called a visual. So let's say, for example, remember that I mentioned to us earlier that with Power BI you can automate report, unlike Excel where you have to maybe go monthly to make some changes to report. With Power BI you can automate your report. Don't worry, I'm going to be showing you how the Power BI environment looks like and a blank Power BI screen so that you can see how it is when you first open the Power BI environment, right? So this is an example of a report that has been created. So let's assume that your IT department sends you this data every month, right? This data is data that has the sales of a company from January 2022 to December 2022, and they share with you every month. And so you want to maybe show the sales of September. Let's assume that we're actually in 2022 and we want to show September's date, right? So I have created simple pivot tables here. You can see here, this shows sales by customer, this shows sales by sales rep and sales by states, right? I have created this in such a way that it is only showing us September's data, which means that when we are in October, I have to go into this report to make changes for it to show me October's data, right? So it means that every new month, at the beginning of every month or at the end of every month, I have to be going into this report to make changes to this report, right? This is a very stressful and time consuming process. What if you just create a report, and when you create this report, you don't have to be making changes to that report at all. You don't have to be making changes to that report at all. And you can do all of this with Power BI. Imagine this data being in, I used Google Sheets when in it's supposed to be in Excel, but I opened it in Google Sheets. Imagine this data the way it is in Excel. Now let's assume this is Excel. I can bring this data into Power BI and make a simple report from this data in such a way that one, the users can interact with the report, and two, this report can be updated itself automatically monthly. It means that I don't have to be going every month to make changes to this report. I can just leave this report and it will be updating by itself monthly. And that is one of the good things about Power BI. So I'm going to be showing you an example of a simple report that I built with that data. So I just built this report just before we started this session with that data. Now compare what we had on that Excel to what we have now. You can see that this is visually pleasing than the Excel file. Whoever is looking at this report can visually know what is going on in this report. In fact, when you show stakeholders a very nice dashboard, a very nice visual representation of the report, in fact, they are more willing to use your report. They are more willing to interact with the data that is coming from your report. And even they themselves can get insights from that report without them having to come to you to get the insights from you. So I just built a simple, you can see that this is sales by top 10 customers. This is sales by sales rep. I did a simple visual card for profit, sales, and quantity, and this is sales by state. So how can we create this kind of report on our own? So I'll be showing us how to do that. We might not be able to create this completely because of time restriction, but I'll be showing us how to at least do something like this. Okay. So this is an already used Power BI. What to do is this report and I report from scratch. Okay. So let me open a new Power BI file. All right. So I'll just be closing this while I open a new Power BI file. Okay, I'll just close this also. So Power BI would always prompt me to save, but I don't want to save. Okay, so my new Power BI file is currently opening. And it might take a bit of a while for it to completely open. Okay. So if you are familiar with Excel, because it's a Microsoft product, a lot of their interfaces are alike. So if you are very familiar with Microsoft tools, you'll be able to understand some of the screen interfaces in Power BI. So when you open a new Power BI file, you see this green screen here, right? In some cases, if you're using the old version of Power BI, it is going to be a yellow screen, but this is the new version and it is a green and black screen. So this part just shows you reports that you have recently opened. The report I just opened is called Customer Lifetime Value. I also opened sample Power BI report. And so if you want to open reports that you recently opened, you can just come here. And if you want to open other reports, you can come here. This is just video tutorials on how to use Power BI. This screen is not usually very important, right? So I'll just close it. So in Power BI, this is how a new Power BI file is. You have your menu bar, your title bar, you have your toolbars, and here you have three different tabs. These tabs are very important for your report and analysis. This is your filter pane. So if you want to filter your report, you're going to be filtering it here. There are also other ways you can filter your report, but this is one way to. And these are the visuals. That's the charts that are available for you to use in Power BI. A lot of them are similar to what we have in Excel. This is data. So when you load data into Power BI, your data that you've loaded is going to be on this part of the screen. So because we don't have any data loaded into Power BI, that is why this part of the screen is blank. But once we have data loaded, that part of the screen is not going to be blank. So we also have three different screens in Power BI. So when you open your Power BI, this is your default screen, but Power BI has other screens, right? The first screen, which is our default screen, is the report view. Three different views. The report view is where you create all your visuals, where you create your reports. But the next view is your table view. This way you can see the data that you've brought in a tabular view. You see it's like a table. And the third view we have here is the model view. The model view allows you to create your relationship. Remember when I mentioned that Power BI allows you to create your relationship between data, right? This is the view where you go and create that relationship. Okay. So now how do you bring your data into the Power BI? I'm currently in the model view, so I want to go back to my report view, which is the default view. So how do you bring data into the Power BI environment? For you to bring data into the Power BI environment, which is the import data, the first part of your reporting process, you come here. This is the get data here. As you can see, Excel workbook is here. The reason why Excel workbook is here is because it's one of the most popular data sources. But if you don't want to go here, you can come here to get data. You see this drop down and you will see Excel workbook. For the purpose of this demo, we are going to be getting our data from Excel workbook. So I'll get my data from Excel because that's where my data is. And because Excel is usually on our local computer, it will take you to your file explorer, right? So the name of the data I want to use is OA stores. So I'll click on that. You click on the data that you want to use, and when you are done, you just click on open. And so what happens is that Power BI will create a connection to that Excel file. So when you open the Excel file, you have this navigator pane. So what this navigator pane allows you to do is to select the particular sheet in your Excel file that you want to get your data from. The reason is because in an Excel workbook, you will have multiple sheets. You can have as much as 5 to 10 to 20 sheets. And maybe the data you want to use is coming from only one sheet. And one sheet represents one table. So my Excel file has only one sheet, which is called my orders, right? So I'll just click on this one sheet. And when I click on it, I have to check it. There are two options here. There's transform and there is load. So the difference between these two options is that when you load your data loads directly into Power BI, right? Which is what we want to do. But sometimes you might want to transform your data. Remember when I talked about data cleaning, that you have to clean your data to make sure that your data is in the right format. So if, for example, you want to clean your data first before you load it, you will come and click transform data. But we don't want to clean this data. We just want to load it and start performing our analysis because I am very certain that this data is clean. If I am not sure that this data is clean, I will first transform my data. So what I want to do is I will load my data. I want to load it directly. I don't want to clean it. So I will load my data. So when I load my data, it is currently loading. That's why we have this screen. As you can see, load. So I have 617 rows in that data. And as you can see, if you come to this data part here, you would see orders. That is the name of the table that I just loaded into Power BI. Now, remember we have the report view, which is where we are going to build our report. We have the data view, that's the table view, sorry, which shows us a tabular representation of our data. Now we can see our data in a tabular format. The reason is because you want to be able to make sure that if you are analyzing your data, what you're analyzing is correct. Because if I want to say, okay, I want to know how many, maybe I have checked for how many sales team member organic brought in, right? I can just come here and maybe I've done the analysis and maybe the analysis is giving me 100 and I feel that 100 is not correct. I'll just come here and filter to organic. I only want to see organic. And if I come to the bottom of my screen here, you'll see that I have 617 rows, but 388 filtered rows. That means I have 388 organic sales, which means that if I was getting 100 in my visual, that means 100 is not correct. So I need to figure out what is wrong with my visual. So you need to be able to see your report on a table so that you can easily know when something is wrong with your data. So let me just check on remove this filter. So this is our data view. I'll come back to our report view, which is the first one. So now we want to build visuals from that data set. And how do we do it? But before we start to build our visuals, I want to take us through some of the visuals or some of the charts that we have in Power BI, right? Here, we have your stacked bar chart, which if you want to build a bar chart or a pie chart, sorry, a bar chart or a column chart, you'd use your stacked bar chart, your stacked column chart, your clustered bar chart, or your clustered column chart. All of these visuals have different uses, right? But because of time, we can't go into detail at what point you use each of these visuals, right? So for example, in the report that we just created, I used a card visual. This visual here is called a card visual. And what the card visual does is you kind of are able to see your value, your data, a single representation of your data. So if I want to see the total sales that my business has made, I can just click on my card visual and it will show me that total sales that my business has made. I think my screen sharing is hanging. Let me just reshare, please. Okay, so if for example I just want to say, okay, what's the total sales that this business have made? I can just use a card visual to do that, right? So Power BI has a lot of visuals that you can use to make sure that your report you are creating is interactive and it can give you this app-like feel, right? Everything you need, every data that you need, you can get it in one screen. That's one of the powers of Power BI. So let's say, for example, we want to replicate that report that we just did. Let me share my entire screen so I don't move around screen. So if, for example, this report, this September sales dashboard that we have, right? So we want to do a report that shows sales by customer, sales by sales rep, and sales by states, right? So how did I do that report that I just showed you? The first thing I want to do is I want to show the total sales, right, that this company has made in September so that whenever a business user looks at the report, at a glance, they can easily see the total sales. So in that case, I'll just use a card visual. This is a card visual. So for me to use a visual, I will just click on it and it will appear on my screen here. But I need to put data on the visual. You need to put data on a visual. Before you can see what is going on a chart, you need to put data on the chart. And how do I put data on the chart? As the name implies, data. So this is my data pane here. So this is what I can use to put data on the chart. Remember that what I want to see here is my total sales. So I'll just come and scroll. This is sales. So I can just click on the checkbox here or click and drag and place it directly. See this place called field? I place it directly on it. And what will show on this visual is my total sales, which is 152,000, right? Another thing that I showed was sum of quantity, total quantity. So I'll do the same thing. And I'm going to use the card visual and I will show quantity. I'll just click and drag it here and I'll be able to see my total quantity. Then the next one is profit. So I'll do the same thing here. If you don't want to click and drag, you can just come and click on the checkbox here and quantity is there. Okay, I think I've done quantity, so it's profit now that we want to do. So profit is here. Okay, so that is how to put data on a visual. And as you can see at a glance, you can see your quantity, you can see your sales, and you can see your profit. But what about when we want to do our sales by customer? So for sales by customer, I'm going to be using this bar chart here, clustered bar chart. The reason why I am doing that is because it can help me see all of my customer name at a glance. So when you're picking the visuals you want to use, you must pick a visual that represents your data in a way that whoever is using that data can be able to get insights from the report, right? You don't want your report to be all over the place. You don't want it to look very busy to the eyes, right? So you need to make sure that it is visually appealing. So for customers and sales, I'll use this chart. So I just click on the chart. So on my y-axis, I want my customer name to be there. So I will just come here. This is customer name. I'll drag customer name and drag it on my y-axis. And on my x-axis, I want sales. So I'll take sales and drag it to my x-axis. So as you can see what we have, I can resize it. What we have is customer by sales, right? You can see the customer name and the sales. So this is better looking. So another thing that we have here, if we go to the Excel file, is sales by sales rep. Okay, for this one, I will also use, I think I'll use this chart instead. This might not be the best chart to use, but I'm only using it because I just want to show us how to use the different visuals in Power BI. So I would use this clustered column chart. And on my, this time it is the reverse. So my x-axis would have my sales rep name. I'll click and drag. And my y-axis will have my sales, right? So this is how it looks. Okay. So the next thing we want to see is sales by state. For this one, I want to use a table visual. There's a visual that gives you a tabular visualization looking like a table. So I will use this. This is a table visual here. So I'll select it. And your table can have as many columns as you want it to have. But we just want two columns on this table. The first column is the states. This is states. And my second column is my sales. So as you can see, state by sales. So this is my report that I want to do. But doing this report, it doesn't look good to the eyes. We need to make it more visually appealing to the eyes. And that's where the the visualization comes, beautifying your visual comes. How can the people that are using this report interact with your report in a way that they are not overwhelmed when they are using your report and it's visually appealing to them, right? So what I can do is I can rearrange this visual, resize, and put some filtering. Remember that we want this report to only show us September's data because it is our September monthly report. But we want to make it dynamic in the sense that this report only shows us the report for the current month that we are in. So if we're in October, this shows us only October report. Let's assume that your stakeholders only want to see monthly report. They don't care about the previous months. They just want to see where we are for this month. So I don't want to be coming back and say, okay, when is October? Show me October. I want to make it dynamic in a way that if tomorrow is October 1st, when you open this report, the only thing you're going to be seeing on this report is October's report. How do we do that? Right? So I'm going to use a filter to do that. Remember that I said that we have this filter pane that can allow us to filter our report. There are three options when you're filtering. There's filters on this visual. So what filter on this visual means is that this particular visual that we have selected, you want whatever filter you're using to apply to only this visual, right? So if, for example, you want to filter to where customer name is ABC, ABC would only be applied to only this visual that we have here. Then we have filter on this page. Filter on this page means that whatever filter you're applying would only apply to this particular page that we are on. But if we have filters on all pages, it means that whatever filter I am creating is going to apply to all pages. But let's assume that in the case of us wanting to see only September's data or the current month that we are in data, what if they want to see the current month, but they also want to see yearly report, but they don't want to click anything to see the current month, right? They don't want to start clicking a filter to show them the current month. You can create two pages and one page. So I'm going to create another page. So this page here, I just click the plus sign to create a new page. So this page here, I'll just say it is monthly report. So you can double click to rename a page. And this one, I'll just say it is yearly report, right? So now for this monthly report, I only want it to show me monthly report without me making any changes. So for me to do that, I'm going to apply my filter to this page alone, only this page. So how do I apply my filter? I want my filter to show me only orders that were made in this particular month. So how do I do that? Sorry, give me a second. Okay, so I do that by dragging what I want to filter. So my order dates, there's a column for order date here that gives us the date that the order was made. Remember that we only want orders that were made in September. So I will just click and drag this order date because it is a date column. And when you want to filter, there are three types of filtering depending on data type of your report, right? There's in this particular one, because it is a date, you have more than three types. But when it's a text, you have three types. I'll show you when it is a text and when we have three types. But because it's a date, we have four types of filtering: advanced, basic, and relative dates. Now we want our dates to show us only this month. We are going to be using relative dates. So we'll say is in the last, I'll click on this drop down. I'll say is in this month. So I'll change this day to month. So remember that this month is what? Is September. So it is only going to show me orders that came in September 2023. And that's how to filter. You'll see that if you see these filters on this page, you see orders date is 9/1/2023 to 9/30/2023. That's 30th of September, 1st of September to 30th of September. When we're in October, it will show us only October's data. And that's how this filtering works, right? So when no matter how the time is changing, when you're in November, when you're in December, it changes. So for if you create a report like this, you don't need to come back in October to make changes to push in October's data. The report will automatically update with October's data, right? And that's how automated Power BI is, right? So now let's quickly create a beautiful design or a very simple design of the report. I just close this pane so that it allows me more space to do more things. So what I want to do is I want to create a title page because I want to give my report a title. I can insert something called a text box. For me to insert a text box, I'll come to this insert, but there's a shortcut here. but the long cut is insert and text box here. So I'll just drag it because I want it on top my page. So I'm dragging it to the top of my page. So maybe I want to name it September report. In fact, there's a way for the name. For example, the way I'm naming the September report, you can dynamically change your report name so that when you're in October, it shows October report. And you can do that using something called DAX in Power BI, right? Power BI has a lot of things that it can do. But for the purpose of this session, we're just going to be writing September. So I will put September reports or September 2023 reports. I'll just increase the size of this, make it bold, and I will expand it. Okay. So for each visual, you can format your visual using color format, text format, however you want. This option, you can see format. When you select a visual, it gives you an option. Power BI gives you an option to format the visual. So for example, I want my text box background to be, let's assume I want it to be gray, right? You can see that it is gray. If I want it to have a bit of shadow, I just switch on the shadow and it has a bit of shadow. You can see how the shadow has quickly changed the way our report looks, right? So for this one, I can come here and just resize this one to the side. In fact, if I want to give my background a color, I can also give my background a color by clicking out, and I'll come here to format your report page, canvas background, and maybe give it a, let me give it a very light color, reduce the transparency a bit. I think this gray here is very ugly, so maybe I just make it the same blue. Okay, you can see that our visual is changing already, right? The way our report is looking is already different. So I can come here and just give my report a little arrangement. So this report that has customer name, right? Maybe your stakeholders, they're not interested in seeing all customers. They just want to see your top 10 customers, because if you have a lot of customers, nobody cares about all your customers. They just want to see maybe some certain customers. I can also come here using the filter pane. And remember that customer name is a text. So this time we'll have just three options. So if I come here under my filter, I will change this to top N. You can see we have three options: advanced, basic, and top N. Top N means I want to see top or bottom something. So I'll choose top. We have top and bottom. Top. So I want to see top 10. So here I'll press 10. Top 10 customers by how much sales they have brought in. I need to come here and click and drag my sales. Then I will apply my filter. So what I will have here is only top 10 customers. Now this visual is better looking. So I just reduce the size a bit. I can put this one at this corner. Then I can bring this one to the side, to the bottom, so that it is not too busy. It's easier to the eyes this way. As you can see, we have built a simple Power BI report, right? And while this was very straightforward for me, though, right? I know that for a lot of us, we are beginners, so this might not be straightforward, but this is a very simple report to build. There are some more Power BI reports that might take you longer time to build, right? It doesn't take you as a short a time it took me to build a normal Power BI report. Power BI report takes time because you are analyzing your data. So you need to take time to analyze and think through your data. And as I mentioned, the report is interactive. So if I come here and maybe I click Becky Martin bar, what happens is that my data changes to show me only Becky Martin's data, right? As you can see, if I come here to state and I click California, I will only be seeing California's data, in my report. So that's how interactive the Power BI report is. Okay, so we have come to the end of this session. Do we have any question? Please, if you have any question, just drop it in the chat so that I can take your question and respond. Yes, for the person that asks if you can get data from Google Sheets, yes, it is possible to fetch data from Google Sheets with Power BI. So how do we do that? I'll go back to my home. This is just a simple demo. So Google Sheets data, Power BI sees Google Sheets data as a web source, right? So you go to get data. Power BI sees Google Sheets data as a web source. So your source is web, right? But you need to get your link, the link to your sheet. So if you want to get the link to your sheet, you don't just come and get this link. No, you don't share your report to get the link. You need to first publish your report to web. Power BI sees Google Sheets as a web source. So you need to publish that report to web. So I'll come here to publish my report to web. I'll come here, click on file. I'll come to share here and you will see publish to web. So when you publish to web, you can publish your entire document or maybe just a sheet. But if I'm publishing my entire document, I'm going to click publish. And it says, are you sure you want to publish? I'll say, okay. You need to have edit rights to a sheet before you can publish it. If you're just a viewer, you can't publish the sheet. So as you can see, I'll take this link, this publish link that it has shared with me. And it is this link that I will use to open the sheet in Power BI. So this is the URL I will use to open the sheet in Power BI. I'm not going to open this because it takes a while to load the data from Google Sheet. But when you're done, you can just click on OK and follow the steps and you'll see your data in Power BI. Okay, let me take more questions. Would there be needs for coding at any point? With Power BI, no, you don't need to know how to code, but as a data analyst generally, having knowledge of a programming language is a good skill to have because there's some data that you might need to code in order to get insight from, especially when you are doing predictive analysis. But I just want to tell you that by knowing only Power BI, you can get your first data job. The reason is because right, a lot of companies just want to, they are still at the stage of just visualizing their data, and you can visualize your data with Power BI, then you can get your first BI job. But also because data skills are very transferable, if I know Power BI, right, if I'm learning another skill, maybe SQL, it is easy for me to transfer the knowledge I have had in Power BI to SQL, right? So data skills are very transferable. So you can start with one data skill, SQL or Power BI, and go from there. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to know how to code before you start um before you start your data journey. Okay, let me just, okay, how can you do predictive analysis in Power BI? So you can do predictive analysis, but because the data I have here is not very detailed, right? For you to be able to predict in Power BI, you need to have loads and loads of data, wealth of data. What I mean by wealth of data is you need to be able to store historical data. This data I have is just 2023 data. You can't predict with only data of 1 year. For a system to be able to predict, you have to have data of previous years, a lot of data that it can learn from to be able to predict, right? So I can't show you how to predict with this particular data, right? But if you join one of Scenario's academic class during the course of teaching Power BI, we would show you how you can do some predictive analysis with Power BI. Okay, so is it possible to add more info to a data set like an Excel sheet that has already been transformed? Yes, you can, right? So if, for example, I added a new line to my Excel file, right? What I will just come and do is see this refresh icon here. I will click on refresh and my report refresh with the latest data that I have added. So remember I talked about when you're in October, October's data update. So if, for example, the Excel file, somebody has put October's data there. In fact, you don't need to come here to refresh. If you have a Power BI Pro or Premium license, on the Power BI online environment, you can schedule your refresh. You can tell Power BI that I want this report to be refreshed by 2 p.m. every day. You don't need to go and click on refresh, and Power BI will automatically refresh that report by 2 p.m. every day. Okay. How can raw Excel data feed straight into Power BI environment? Okay, Nelson indicate that is what I just showed you. I just showed you how you can feed this data we use was coming from Excel, right? So whenever somebody is adding information to that Excel file, my report will be updated. Although it is not automatically updated in the Power BI desktop environment, I have to come and click on refresh, right? But when I take it to my Power BI online environment and I schedule my refresh, my report will be automatically refreshed at whatever time of the day I want it to be refreshed. So if I want to feed my Excel file, I need to connect this Power BI to my Excel file. Okay, Precious Amarati says in this month sum of profit, I noticed that there's a minus, but the total month since the year didn't show a minus. Does that mean that the month is experiencing a loss? Yes. For profit, this particular month is experiencing a loss. That's why it's negative. But if we go and remove that filter for all the year, we will not have a negative because generally in the year they are making profit, but in September they are making a loss. That's a very good insight, Precious. It means that, as you can see, maybe the salespeople have been deceiving the business that we're making profit this year now, we're making profit this year. But when they now dig deep into their data, they're saying that, but in September you made a loss. So they can now find out what is causing the loss in September. Okay. How come the software was able to gather reports from September 1st to 23 when we are yet to get September 30th data? Okay, so the data is not able to get September 1st to 30th. The reason why you're able to is showing, let me just click out. The reason why it's showing this is because I told it that while it is in this month, and this month has September 1st to September 30th, right? And so as long as data is coming in, anytime it sees data, so for example, tomorrow is 25th. Because 25th of September is between 1st to 30th, it updates with 25th data, right? But if 25th data is not here, you won't see it here. But it's just trying to tell Power BI that this report should only show me data between 1st to 30th of September. But if there's no data for 30th of September, then you won't see 30th of September's data. Okay. So I think I've answered the question of updating. After transforming your data, what changes? Okay, after transforming your data, what changes is the transformation that you have made on your data. So let me quickly show us briefly how you can transform your data. Remember that we loaded our data first. We didn't transform, right? But let's assume that you still want to do some transformation. You can still do that. So if you come here, see this option that says transform data. So if I click on transform data, it takes me to somewhere called Power Query. Power Query is the transformation engine of Power BI. So if, for example, when I'm transforming my data, I want to delete, remember that we used quantity for our reports, right? So let's assume that we don't need quantity again in our report. I come here and I delete quantity column. Quantity column is deleted, right? I will just come here because I'm done. That's the only cleaning out. Okay, please give me Okay, sorry, I am back. Okay, so now we have refreshed the data, and if we come to look at it, if you look here, you will see that it says something is wrong with one or two fields because we've deleted the quantity column. We have an error in our data set, right? So when you transform your data, it makes changes to your data. Although it's not that you have to delete a column when you're transforming your data, but that's one of the transformation steps you can do. There are a lot of transformation steps you can do. But when you make changes to your data, when you clean your data, it changes your report. Okay. So I'm going to go back and bring my quantity here. But while I'm doing that, let me answer a few more questions. We are past time, so I'll just answer 5 more questions. Victoria says, can you recommend a good course for tutorial for Power BI? Scenario Academy offers a data analytics course, right? I am one of the tutors of Power BI, right? So we have a analytics course that teaches you Excel, Power BI, and SQL, which are very good skills to have as a data analyst. While Power BI can get you your first job, a combination of Power BI and SQL and Excel increases your chances of getting a good job in Power BI. In fact, you can get a remote role. You can work in Nigeria while the company you're working for is in the US and get paid good money, right? So you can join the Scenario Academy class for good Power BI courses. Okay, so what are some techniques you recommend for improving the performance of reports when dealing with substantial amounts of data? Some of the techniques you want to do, I recommend is bring in as little data as possible. For example, this report now, I only needed to do sales by customer, sales by state, and sales rep. I did not need order ID. I did not need ship dates. I did not need a lot of these columns that I ended up bringing in, right? So what I want to do is I'll reduce the size of the data that I am bringing in, only bring in data that I need, right? That's one way. Then another way, so in that case, if your data is big, it's probably be in SQL. So you want to write an SQL query that reduces the size of your data. So for example, if this data is very large and it's coming from a database, what I will do is I will write an SQL query that only gives me my top 10 customer. I'll write an SQL query that will only give me sales, or I'll even write an SQL query that only gives me data and sales for only this particular month I am interested in, and for only the metrics that I am interested in. So that's one way to do that. And then another way is to just write formulas out of your data sets, right? So instead of doing like sum of sales, I can write a formula that helps me calculate my sum of sales. And another thing I can do is reduce the number of visuals I have on a page. If your data is large, you want to read. So you want to write formulas to reduce you want to write formulas to kind of cop your data set, and then you don't want to create too much calculations. When I mean calculations, like if you want to create a new table, you don't want to create a calculated table. There's something called a calculated table in Power BI, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're bringing all of the data in yourself, right? This is like more a more advanced way, not beginner friendly. So is it possible to add more columns and rows to your data to the back end sheet you transform? Because I'm aware you can delete rows. Yes, you can add more rows and columns. For rows, um, I'm not sure there are techniques for which you can add rows, but I don't know the instances if you want to add rows. So for example, if you want to impute more data, maybe you've gotten October's data and you want to impute it, please don't impute it in Power BI. Do it in your data source. That's your Excel, right? Impute your data in Excel than coming to do it in Power BI, because when your report is updating, right, it only updates what it can see in Power BI. So it's better to add data from your data source as against adding your data in Power BI environment. But yes, you can add columns, and I think that you can also add rows. Although I've never tried to add new rows in Power BI, but I've added new columns. But when you're adding columns in Power BI, you're doing it by one or more calculation methods to do that. Okay, so do we have any more questions? I think I've answered everybody's question. Any more question? Um, so we can help you. I know that Scenario Academy offers some sort of internship. So after your classes, we can help you get an internship in some internships, some projects that can help you with your first data job. But we do not assist with rebranding CVs and LinkedIn optimization. But yes, for job experience, we offer internship after your learning for that. But of course, you can reach out to any of your trainers to help you look at your CV, and we will be happy to help you rebrand it or put you in the right direction as to what to put on your CV. So your trainers are very much always available to you if you need any help in your analytical journey. Okay, any more questions? The internship does not come with pay. The internship does not come with pay. And then also we have online classes and we have physical classes, right? We have online classes and we have physical classes. Okay, for you to join Scenario Academy, you can send us an email to training. I'm just going to type the email scenario academy.com. You can also reach out to us via WhatsApp. Please give me a second. Let me just get the WhatsApp number also. WhatsApp and phone call. I'm dropping the WhatsApp and call number on the chat now. So you can reach us via WhatsApp and you can call us on this number that I'm dropping now. You can also reach out to me and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Olubukunola Akinshola. Let me just drop my LinkedIn profile URL. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or email, and I will link you up with the Scenario Academy team. Let me just drop my LinkedIn profile. Okay, any more questions? Any more questions? So it would be great if I can see a lot of you join our next cohort, our next analytic cohort. I'm not very certain of the time that we will be starting, but if you reach out to us via email, WhatsApp, or call, we would let you know. You can join our online class. You can also join our physical class. We have weekends and weekday classes, whichever one is convenient for you. You can also check us on Instagram, scenario_academy. Let me put it there. Okay. Yes, the classes are paid for. Okay, so I would be leaving us to the Scenario Academy team to take it over from here. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for choosing scenario. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Bukola, for the time you spent. I hope you can hear me. All right. So as said by Bukola, we have both physical and online class. The physical class will be starting. Yes. All right. Thank you. So we have the physical class starting this coming Saturday, and the price is 150,000. So, but we allow payment twice. But for the first 10 people, we allow a payment of 140,000, right? So what the advantages you will have in being trained by Senior Academy? Our courses are practical, so you do more of, say, 90% practical. So we have sample data sets, and our materials are very easy. They can easily tailor you towards the training. We deal with a lot of business cases. Our instructors are experienced instructors in this area of analysis, data analysis, right? We have gamified learning approach, and we also have projects. We have capstone projects for Power BI, for SQL, for Excel. We also give you the completion certificate, and you also have access to all our recordings. So both online and physical classes are all recorded. We also provide feeding for physical classes. We provide the tea break and the normal lunch. Our internship is virtual, right? So after the entire courses, Excel, Power BI, and SQL, you will have to go through internship. So the goal of the internship is to help you build your portfolio, right? So the internship is for 2 months, virtual. We also give post-training support. We reward performance. We give reference for schools and job reference. And we also have our quarterly alumni meetup, where we always give some level of heads up. Can you apply for internship without attending your classes? No. So I think there's another question there. What's the cost of online classes? All right. So for online classes, the cost is 75,000, but we discount it to 65,000 naira one-time payment. So if you are splitting it, of which you must split 70% first, you must pay 70% first, it's like 50,000, right? So we have testimonials of people who have gone through our training and they get online jobs, right? Even last 2 weeks, we had reference for some of them also. So we are here to help you and assist you. After the entire training, we give you sample CVs that can help you to structure your CV after that, right? So after the entire curriculum, after the entire training, you will now go through the alumni. You become an alumni immediately. So you're added to the alumni group. So we give support in the alumni group. Everybody becomes a specialist. We help each other, right? So it's a journey that we do not leave you. Our physical classes are in Ikeja. We have 2 branches in Ikeja, right? So I'm one of your instructor. I'm an SQL instructor with Senior Academy. And I can promise you that you will have one of the best training with us, right? The environment is conducive. All the trainings are recorded, right? All our trainings are recorded, so you can revert to them. Any other questions? So we have a physical class. You can get it at a discounted cost of discounted amount of 140,000. So we'll be starting a new course this Saturday. Right, so our office is at Ikeja. You can come there, you can visit. You can visit our office, 27, 3rd floor, 27 off Towing Street, 27 Amore Street, off Towing Street. So it's close to Ikeja under bridge. All right, guys, any other question? Okay, in the absence of question, thank you for your time. Okay, we have a question here. Can someone with no knowledge on data analytics enroll for the class? Definitely. So it's for beginner. Our courses are beginner friendly. They are beginner friendly. You don't need to have a knowledge of how to analyze data. Just come in and we'll take you through the process, how you can learn it easily. You won't be confused because our instructors are always there to help you, right? I even personally give my time to people after the class. Anytime I can always, once you're a student, you can always beat me, right? So our courses are structured such that the goal is to make you, probably if you want to become a data engineer. So you first go through our course as a data analyst. Then after you've gone through the course and your hands and legs are strong, you can now move to becoming a data scientist, right? You move further to become a data scientist, and having conquered that, then you can go ahead to become a data engineer, right? So a data engineer is someone that pulls data from various sources, put them in a warehouse, and automate the operations, automate the data analysis and the dashboards and the rest and the likes. Right, so guys, that's all for now. I hope to see you in one of our classes very soon. My name is Shokwe. If there's no other question, I think we can put an end to this class. So the recordings will be available to you when you are registering for this tester session. You sent your email, so you can go through the recording. So it might not be available today, but before, latest by Monday, you'll be sent an email so that you can access the recording, you can go through it, right? So you can see how easy it is to analyze data. If you have a good and seasoned instructor, the path becomes shorter, right? Okay, guys, thank you so much. And I wish you a beautiful week. Bye.